thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. This has been about 5 years in the making, so I'm kind of excited to finally be able to share it with everyone. The first thing I just want to say is a couple thank yous. Thank you to the Guild, because this place is free for me, and that means that a whole bunch of other people are paying for it. So thank you if you're a taxpayer or privately supporting the Guild. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you to all the collaborators who helped out with all of the art. If you see something that's like technically cool, take a look at the tag where it says collaborator, because it probably wasn't me that did it. It was probably someone else, and they're probably in the room. So thank you very, very much for all the collaborators. And especially thank you to Megan Burnside, who was basically a collaborator on every single piece and every part of this process. So thank you very much. The last part of this preface is just that the title, How to Connect with Nature, Revealing the Unity of Life, is deliberately a little bit provocative. I don't have a universal truth for you about how to connect with nature, unfortunately. I know, I'm sorry. All I have is my personal experience. So unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know either one. This presentation is going to be a lot about my personal experience. I'm going to be talking about myself. But that's okay. I think it's a good story. I think you'll enjoy it, and hopefully you'll learn something about it. My purpose or my drive through this was to try and describe something authentic, and so I'm hoping that it'll touch a part of you. Great. So this story starts back in 1997. As all good stories do. I had just finished working the summer at Cows, and I had just finished reading The Wealthy Barber, and bought my first mutual fund, and I was going to be a lawyer, and I was going to be a millionaire. Like all good grade 10 boys. Anyway, I was lucky enough to get picked up and work at a national park in BC that summer off of one of those federal youth employment program websites where you just pick like forestry and ecology and like, I like animals, animal husbandry, sure, why not? And out there, I kind of experienced like my first like taste of like liberation, where we used to go hiking every weekend for 3 or 4 days. And I remember one day, it was one of our early hikes, we were eating lunch on this little footbridge over a river that was about half as wide as this room. And I don't know if you've ever seen like cows after winter, whenever they've been in the barn all winter, and then like you let them out, and they're like, oh, and they're like, what is this? Anyway, that's kind of how I felt, where I was just like, I just wanted to jump on everything and over everything, and at that point I was like, oh, okay, well this is all I want to do from now on, and I won't bore you with too many of the details, but and this is context for the research. This is kind of why I'm telling you this. But after that, I went to Ecuador for a year, did a degree that was specialized in outdoor adventure leadership, taught environmental education and outdoor education and wilderness therapy in BC and Ontario, and then came back to PEI and taught outdoor leadership in Prince Edward Island for 5 years, and then got serious about learning about nature connection when I started my Master's of Education. So the reason that I wanted to learn about nature connection is because the people that are running environmental education programs, according to the research that's been done, are not actually very effective at connecting people with nature. So most of the programs that have been assessed are not creating significant nature connection in the participants. So that means maybe there's something fundamental that we don't really understand about nature connection or what it is. And I wanted to learn what that was. So in order to do that, I created a custom environmental education program for myself. And I encourage you all to do this too. It's a really fun exercise to like create little educational programs for yourself. So in my case, my program involved four aspects. Number one, wilderness solitude. So I thought that wilderness solitude would help me connect with nature, and so I went to St. Peter's Island for 40 days. Number two was wilderness living, which is living off the plants and animals that surround you. And I did that for the last 14 of the 40 days. So that meant that my day was kind of dictated by low tide, and when it wasn't low tide, I was kind of wandering through the island looking for berries and plants to eat, and then I poisoned myself once, so I just went back to eating clams straight for about 8 days, which was really fun. I didn't get sick of them at all either. The clams were delicious the whole way through. Anyway. Yeah. And then number 3 was art, so processing clay to make pottery, doing sandstone sculptures, taking pictures and soundscapes. And number 4 was wilderness awareness activities. So during the day I would go around and do kind of mindful listening, like to birds, or like walking like really, really slowly through the woods, so you're like not making any noise, and just kind of like feeling and paying attention to you know, the whatever's going on. But the weird thing was that I didn't really find those to be powerful ways to connect with nature. And there's a good reason for that. Mostly it was because I don't know if you guys have ever gone through the motions with something, where you're like doing something kind of mindlessly. Anyway, so it was kind of like that. Like I could be living, like harvesting a clam to live off of. It's like direct sustenance, like direct connection, and I'm like daydreaming about how a girl dumped me in grade 7, or like I'm like processing clay to like make something to like boil water, and I'm thinking about like how it'd be nice to have like walls that are made of tiles in my bathroom. Like, so it's like these experiences, what I thought would work best, like God, 40 days alone on St. Peter's Island, like walking through the woods slowly, like how is that not going to connect me with nature? But it didn't really. It was like I was like this, and it was like oh, bird noises. So it didn't really change how I experience reality or how I relate to the world. But there were a couple things that really did and that were actually pretty powerful. And essentially that's what all the art around you is all about, is the process of shedding false narratives in order to reveal the pre-existing unity of life. And I'm gonna describe that a little more. But yeah, what I experienced as powerful was art-based self-renunciation and unnaming and renaming the world, which I'm going to describe in more detail in a second. But when I did that, what I experienced was more of like looking around and being like, holy God, the world's alive. And like the whole, it was quite strange and quite striking that like, Jesus Christ, everything's alive around me. And then I would kind of like look down and be like, holy Jesus, there's life inside me too. And I'd look off into the distance and there's like gannets flying, and be like, holy shit, the gannets are alive. And that aliveness is like, oh shit, it's in me too. And it was quite a striking sort of like Jesus Christ, the world's alive. Like it was yeah, the like consequences of it were like, okay, well, I guess I'll step carefully because everything's alive. Anyway, I clearly don't experience the world like that right now. It's like it's sort of like exercise or eating healthy. You know, you need to do something to shed false narratives and then experience the world as an interconnected community of life. So, anyway, that's how I experienced. Clearly, other people experience it other ways. I don't know. But art-based self-renunciation. This is a strategy that I learned while I was volunteering with the Women's Network of PEI, and we use it for gender work with young men. And so I want to describe that quickly, just so you kind of get a taste of what art-based self-renunciation is. So the way it works is with teenage boys, we would ask them, what are some stereotypes of manliness? Like, what does it take to be like a man's man? And you know, they would come up with things like, any ideas? Strength, yeah, totally, yeah. This is a strong arm. A hairy chest, yes. Hairy, this is not gonna, yeah, a hairy chest. Oh, God. You can tell I got someone else to do the comics over there. They're like, yeah. Anything else?
Being tough.
Being tough, yeah, totally being tough. Yeah, not crying, straight face. Yeah, straight face. So, one more thing?
Confidence.
What's that?
Confidence.
Confidence, yes. I don't know, I'm just going to write that word because I don't know how to draw a visual representation of confidence at the moment. But, so yeah, we would talk about these stereotypes of what it takes to be a manly man, and and then kind of what we talk about is how these aren't just stereotypes. These are stories that young men believe, and they're in their head, and they filter the world through these beliefs. So once again, these beliefs are in their head, and they filter their experience through it. So if they're not strong, or if I'm not strong, I might feel a sense of shame because I feel like I'm not manly. And so what we would try to do, or what we do with young men, is say, is that true? Do you need to be physically strong in order to be like a man? And inevitably, of course, they're like, oh no, that's stupid. Like, look at Mahatma Gandhi, for example. He's like, manly as hell and not, physically strong, in the movies anyway. I've never met him, but so anyway, through the process, we renounce these aspects of their self-identity. So what we generally do is get them to come up and like tear the poster down, or in some other way to like renounce these as, oh, this is total bullshit. I don't have to believe this. And it's quite a wonderful thing to like afterwards. Generally, what like when I talk to them after, they're like, they feel super liberated. They're like, oh, thanks, Randy. Like, that's so nice to not live with that stupid lie that I'm like filtering my reality through. And I've heard some stories of professors doing it with groups of like 1,000 people, and at the end they all just stand up and erupt in clapping just because they're so happy to be like relieved of not having to live with what are essentially, I would call them lies. I mean, I could probably use a nicer word, but I'm not going to. They're stupid lies. And they cause a lot of shame, and people are like, if people fall outside those boxes, other people are often violent and violently force them to participate in those beliefs. So yeah, that's art-based self-renunciation. So we have a self-image that we're renouncing and rejecting using art. Now, are there other lies that we live? Are there other lies that we tell ourselves? Yes?
No.
No.
That's a lie.
Yeah, so I found there were three kind of lies that I had to reject or renounce in order to experience the interconnected community of life. And these are them. So these beliefs or lies are kind of act as a shell, and they prevent me from experiencing the unity of life. The unity of life is a pre-existing condition that you don't have to build anything to make it happen. It's already there. We're already intimately connected. But the reason that I can't experience it anyway is because of these beliefs. And they're kind of like deeply held beliefs. So the first is human superiority. It's common to think that humans are the best animals, objectively the best animals. But as I understand it, I've thought about it for a while. I think we're only the best at a couple things. Domination is one, and I just found out today that we're the best at sweating. We may, thank you, Devin Ross. We may also be the best at complex language, but I'm not so sure. I don't know how other life forms communicate, and their communication might be more complex than ours. So yeah, domination and sweating are not necessarily the objective best animals. Like, what about compassion or loyalty or generosity, or are there like some trees they're like growing their whole lives and giving me oxygen to live, and I'm like, I'm better than you. So this right here, as I understand it or think about it, is a stupid lie, and it's kind of funny that I'm so stupid to have believed it for so long, because it's not true. The second one is human separateness, and this one's a little more challenging because I think there is some truth to separateness, but I don't think it's the whole truth. I think this is a little bit of a lie too, and I had to kind of like reach into like pop science, because I'm not much of a scientist, in order to renounce this one. Have you guys heard that like your cells replace themselves every 7 years, and your whole body's like a different body 7 years? So like, where the hell did my body go? And where the hell did this body come from? And you know, if you have like a plant in the ground, it's like a plant and I'm separate. But then I rip it up and eat it, and now it's me? Like, and when I die, I'm gonna become something else? Like, that separateness is not the whole story. And then if we look at like the cycles of elements and energy through the biosphere, like this is clearly a stupid lie, and I'm stupid for having believed it so long. It's okay, like, you know, we're just like a bag of meat. We're humans. We're like kind of dumb, and we're going to make mistakes. And so it's okay to believe stupid lies for a long time. We've come by it honestly. I guess is what I'm saying. And then, so once I've renounced these two ideas, what I found was there are still some personal hang-ups that sort of prevented me from experiencing the interconnected community of life. And for me, those are kind of around like. Yeah, they're sourced from grade 7, and it's around like inadequacy and competition, and like I feel that I need to be, you know, like better than in order to be adequate, which is like, again, a stupid lie. Like, I don't really know why it's a stupid lie. I'm just kind of choosing to believe it's a stupid lie. Yeah, but I'm sure we could, if we put our brains together, we could come up with a few reasons. So yeah, these are aspects of myself that I renounce with art. And so I draw them as blindfolds and chains preventing me from experiencing the interconnected community of life. That is art-based self-renunciation as a strategy for nature connection. So if you have false ideas that live within you, you can renounce them visually, and as they fall away, as they shed away, you can laugh them away, you can cry them away, you can get angry at them, whatever you want. But what's left is the unity of life, which is wonderfully liberating, and just a fantastic experience, a fantastic way to live. The second thing that worked was unnaming and renaming the world. And so what I found was the words I chose to use directly affected how I experienced reality. So the words that I chose influenced how I experienced the world. And so, for example, is St. Peter's Island uninhabited? No, it's not. The whole thing's filled with life. Like, you can't even step on it without stepping on things that are alive. Like, it's just it's a mat of livingness. And was I alone on St. Peter's Island? No, I wasn't. I was just, another expression of life. So, so those words are kind of lies a little bit, and choosing them reinforces the lie of human separateness. Reinforces the lie that kind of like the things around us aren't alive. Another example is nature. So the human nature divide. Is kind of, anytime you say the word nature, it implies that we're not part of it, and that sort of also reinforces the lie of human separateness. So during the time on the island, I became super comfortable with the term other than human life, which is the category of life into which humans are part of, and then there's other human life, which we are all part of the same category, life. Now, when it comes to unnaming and renaming the world, I did find that there is kind of a difference between being in a city and being in the country, or being in a wilderness area. And and so it seems like there's some truth to the human nature divide. But as I kind of start to experience it now, I think that it's all life. Everywhere is life. And where there's a lot of humans, there's a lot of lies being reinforced a lot of the time. So the lie of human separateness and the lie of human superiority is reinforced through human conversation, through human interaction. I think it's also reinforced through our buildings, through our roads. I think the way we experience reality is expressed in all of the things we build, the habitat we build. And then when we go out to the wilderness area, there's no humans or infrastructure reinforcing these kind of false narratives, and they start to fall away. And we experience this like, oh, wow, it's kind of like relaxing and liberating, but it takes a little more work to kind of like, to completely get rid of them. So those are the two strategies that I have for revealing the unity of life. In conclusion, we are bags of meat with very limited abilities. We are wrong about a lot, and that's okay. We've come by it honestly. The key, though, as I experienced it, is to continually question our assumptions about reality. And when we question the stories within us, and when we actively renounce and reject inherited stupid lies, we may reveal the pre-existing unity of life. And yeah, it's worth a try. So if you're not already trying it, give it a try. You might enjoy it. Thanks very much. Enjoy the show. Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Maybe we'll take 2 questions if there are any questions. Yeah?
How are you going to maintain this in your own life then? Your threshold, I guess, or yeah, for human separateness or superiority, like you must be overwhelmed by the kind of grand scale of things that you can experience, that you can choose to. But then don't you feel obligated to have to live in this false narrative world? So how are you going to maintain that?
Well, it's not so bad living in the false narrative. That's the problem. That's like it's kind of like life is pretty comfortable. So
part of you that.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a possibility. It's sort of like exercising. Like I'd love to be able to do backflips, but I'm gonna have to try really hard at it.
Yeah.
And so this is one of my priorities. I love experiencing the interconnected community of life, but like preparing this show was not like shedding false narratives. Like I do have other priorities. So it's like it's fun, but it's kind of like eating healthy or exercising, where like I do it as much as I can. Yeah, and that's not very much. But that's okay. Like, well, life is long, so yeah. One more? Any others? Yeah.
It makes me think of Ishmael. Did you read Ishmael?
Yeah.
So anyway, but I was just wondering, that in your research, did you look at different, say, cultures in the world to see where the idea of human superiority came from? If there's certain tribes or cultures that still kind of are more in touch with nature and the idea of us not being superior? Did you look at that at all, or?
Yeah. So part of my research was not specifically looking at that, but like I chose an animist ontology for my research project, which meant I was deliberately trying to see the world as an interconnected and communicative community of life, and there are a number of nations or peoples throughout the earth that still experience the world that way. And it really is an experience. That's, but I wouldn't be able to describe it very well. I kind of, I kind of wanted to see what was true, and if I could experience, then I think it would be true for everyone. I'm not sure. I kind of like this because it's sort of, you're not building up these narratives of mythology. You're sort of discarding everything and then kind of seeing what's left. But that doesn't really answer your question. So, no, I don't know anything about them. Yeah. All right, thanks so much. Enjoy the art. I'm going to put some chairs back there. And thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.